everyone, welcome back to this bishop series that we have going on. These videos are intended to accompany a winter bishop kit that I have, but they are going to have a bunch of information. I've been doing smocked bishops for about 10 years, and this is going to be all the updated information into this series of videos. So regardless if you're using my kit or if you're just doing your own thing, I hope these videos are beneficial and just helpful. Anyway, so first things first, when you're doing a smocked bishop, you've got to cut out that bishop. Okay, that's going to be your first step. And when you cut out your bishop, some things to keep in mind is that when you're doing like your shoulder areas, you want to be very careful to keep those shoulder areas as straight as you can. If you start to slant those things, you can just kind of get yourself into a hot mess in a hurry. Because when you start to slant them, then you start to put them together and it's not going to be the straight line that it should be. And when it's not the straight line that it should be, then particularly if you want to construct your bishop before you pleat it, what can happen then is that you have more fabric. If your line is crooked, either way, right, it doesn't really matter, whichever way your line is crooked to, that seam will have more fabric on whatever way it's crooked to, and then the problem you can run into is that when you put that through your smocking pleater is that you will have more pleats on the top or the bottom, whatever way it's crooked to, and your number of pleats will get off, you know, and it's so be mindful when you're cutting out that bishop that you cut it out straight, especially on the shoulder seams. And if you're matching fabric, if you're doing, you know, whatever gingham and stuff, be mindful of all of the matching things that you need to be mindful of. Really, sewing in general, when you're cutting out your stuff, that is your first step. Okay, if you're sloppy with your cutting out, it's not gonna get any better. At any rate. So going back to the kit, I have lined this bishop for the kit, and if you want to join me in lining your bishop, this is a game changer, I think, and I think I will be lining a bunch of bishops in the future. Now, I would line a angel sleeve bishop way differently than how I'm going to be doing this lining. But I think this lining would be great for any sort of like an actual sleeve, like an enclosed, like whether it's just a short sleeve or all the way long, but the angel where it flares out, I wouldn't do this thing. So if you want to line it, you are going to use the same pattern pieces to cut your lining out. The only difference is that you don't need as much fabric, okay, because you're just going to line it. It's just going to be a little bit of a gathered thing. So you can take your pattern pieces and where they are on the fold and just shift them over, you know, 2-3 inches, and that will take a bunch of that fabric out. If you put in all of the fabric for the bishop calls for, you're just going to have extra bulk under that neck. I think this is actually my first time doing the lining, and I think it's fine. I don't think there's like it's bulky or anything like that. I think it turned out, actually, I'm really happy with it. Like I said, I think it's a game changer for me, and I love that it's so clean on the inside and you don't see all the tails from smocking. So I took it and I just took, you know, 2 or 3 inches off of each piece, and that worked out just fine. The other thing when you're cutting out your bishop that you need to be aware of is that if you're going to be doing this fabric hem, I keep going back to this kit because these videos accompany, but in the kit we do a fabric hem, okay? And if you're going to be doing that, so the pattern, we're using a children's corner bishop pattern, but any bishop pattern would work. We'll look at your pattern and see what a hem allowance, like how much fabric that they've allowed for that hem. For this one, they've allowed, if I remember correctly, it's like 2 1/4 inches. My kids run long, so I didn't want to take up any of that. And bishop patterns are so forgiving. Bishops are so forgiving in their fit, and so I didn't want it to be like too short. You know what I mean? So I didn't take up any of that. Look at who you're making this for, see if they run long or see if they run short or whatever, and go from there. If you want to take up that 2 1/4 inches, that way the band is like more moved up to where the pattern had intended the hem to be, go for it. Now if you want to keep it long, then you may want to add some length to the lining. That way the lining meets up with the bottom of the fabric hem. Does that make sense? So just kind of think about who you're making it for, what the look you want to go with, and go from there when you're cutting things out. I hope that all makes sense. So that is cutting out your pattern pieces. You will have a front cut on the fold, a back cut on the fold. You will have 2 sleeves, and then you will have a repeat of all of this if you want to do the lining. Of course, just move the lining in so you're not having as much fabric. We just, just all of that stuff. And then when it comes to the bias band at the top for that neckline, as I normally do 2-inch wide bias band, but I did 2 1/8. Just to have a little bit more room, because we are having a lining just to go over the top of it, and have it be a little bit cleaner. So I did 2 1/8. I just do this long. I don't use the pattern piece or anything like that. I just do it long, and then I don't have to worry about it coming up a little bit short or a little bit this or whatever. And those are your pattern pieces. So get your pattern pieces ready, and we will be going over the construction of the bishop in the next video, all of the pleating. I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.